If your income changes month to month, budgeting can feel impossible, but it doesn't have to be. In this episode, we are going to talk all about building a values-based plan, even when income is unpredictable.
Hello and welcome to Money and Career Mastery from Overwhelmed to Ownership. I'm Laura Sexton, your abundance and legacy coach, here to help you navigate the world of money, debt payoff, and career growth with confidence and clarity. If you're ready to break free from overwhelm, create a budget that aligns with your values, and design a legacy that empowers future generations, you're in the right place.
Hey, accelerators. I want to talk to you today about why traditional budgets fail when income is inconsistent. This can be so frustrating if you don't make a lot of money. Let's be honest. If your income was inconsistent, but you were making 300,000 one month and 150,000 the next month, it wouldn't be as big of a deal that it's so inconsistent, right? But we don't make that much generally. It'd be great if we did, and I would love that for you, and I would love that for me, but that's not where we're at right now. So what I want to talk to you about is, okay, things are inconsistent. Maybe you're like me in the past and you're an actor, right? Maybe you're an actor and you're like, oh, budgets are really inconsistent, and it's hard for me to make a budget because I don't know what I'm going to be making. Yeah, that's frustrating. I totally get that. Or maybe you are an independent contractor and you don't know what next month's going to bring. That can be really frustrating. A budget assumes predictability. Yeah, but some of you don't have that. So today we're going to talk about what to do when your income is inconsistent. This is a really common stress point. Um, Sometimes we overestimate our income and ouch, that can be really frustrating. Oftentimes we underfund our essentials. Yikes. And then we forget our future needs, things that are coming up that we just totally slipped our mind. So I want to tell you about what it was like for me back when I was struggling with an inconsistent income. As a business owner now and as an actor in the past, I very often didn't know what my income was going to be. That's why it felt like I was starting over all the time. It felt like I made a budget that wasn't really a budget. It was more like tracking. And if I made enough money, I could cover everything. And that's where I got into a lot of trouble. That's where I got into a lot of trouble because what I would do is I would pay all of my bills and then I'd be really hungry. That's not what we want to do here. We need to make sure that we set your spending plan up to help you. One of my clients is an actor. When she first came to me, she would say, I can't budget because I never know what I'll make. But the truth is that chaos came from trying to fit a traditional system into a non-traditional income stream. So we are going to want to do one of two things. We can either get a full month ahead so that we have, money that is set aside for the next month. So whether you're planning to get a month ahead or you're just going to change your system, which if you're in a lower monthly income, we need to change the system, okay? But if you are making higher numbers, some of my clients are real estate agents, and so they'll get these really big windfalls where they're having a $20,000 month. Those are the times that it makes more sense to get months ahead. Regardless of which camp you're in, I need you to figure out what your bare minimum budget is. That's where we need to start. So, what is a bare minimum budget? That is your necessities, right? That is your making sure that you have eaten groceries, not going out to eat, and make sure that you have eaten, that your housing is covered, so your rent or your mortgage, your utilities are paid, and you have transportation, gas in your gas tank, and car insurance. You need car insurance. Do not be like my friend got into an accident the other day. A guy clipped him. He was in the guy's blind spot. They were going along, and the guy turned on his blinker and immediately got over. He hadn't even given my friend time to back up, and the guy clipped my friend going at a high rate of speed. They could have gotten very hurt, and I'm thankful that they didn't. But when they pulled over to the side of the road, my friend goes, "Hey, let's just exchange information." And the guy's face went ghostly pale and he said, "I don't have car insurance." That's going to cost a lot of money because he didn't have $200 to pay his car insurance. So, sorry, that was a side note tangent. Get car insurance. So, your necessities, your food, transportation, shelter, your utilities, all of that needs to be covered first and foremost. I want you eating food because you're going to make terrible decisions if you're hungry. Okay. So, we want to make sure that those are covered first. Underneath that are non-negotiables. If you were in the middle of paying off debt, your debt payoff is a non-negotiable. There really aren't a lot of things that fall into this category. For my family, putting my kids into private school is a non-negotiable. That being said, if we were still paying off debt, we wouldn't have had that luxury because those payments were way too high for us to do both. So now that we are not paying off debt anymore, we are completely debt free. We are able to put our kids into private school, which is lovely. Those are the things that go on the budget. Your necessities, your non-negotiables, your debt payoff. So this is your bare minimum budget. You need to know that if nothing else, this is my dollar amount. This is what I can cover. So I need to make at least this much money. If I make at least this much money, my necessities are covered. That is your bare minimum budget, your essentials only. Now, your value aligned budget is going to include things that hit your lifestyle values, right? That's your generous giving, that's your hobbies, that's your kids' activities. Those kinds of things can come along if you make enough money to cover first your essentials. And sometimes we forget about that. Sometimes we can find ourselves in a situation where I want to go do, I want to go to this concert over here. And I use money that really should have gone to pay my utilities, or I use money that really should have gone towards a debt payoff. And instead, I'm putting myself in more debt because I'm not paying attention to the essentials. If you can cover all of your essentials and then you have money left over, that's when you get to add in those fun things. So when we're on this variable income, sometimes our fun is the thing that suffers. That said, if you are looking at your budget and you're like, if I didn't have all this debt to pay off, I'd have more money to do fun things. Guess what we need to be doing? We need to get rid of that debt so that we can do the extra fun things in our lives. I had a great call yesterday with this very sweet lady. Her name is Jill. And she came to me, was asking about what she needs to do because she's in a situation where her rent is just too high. She makes $4,000 a month, but her rent is $1,700 a month. It's way too much. It's outrageous given her income. So we sat down and we looked at all the numbers, and I was noticing, I was like, most of these things that you want to pay for are actually relatively inexpensive, except for your debt payments. You owe $400 a month on a car. You have $600 in miscellaneous household expenses, the stuff that she owes money on, but we'll eventually be able to cut that off. She had a Visa payment and she had a furniture store payment that she was making. So I said, if you got rid of all of this, you could continue to live in this apartment, continue to do all of the savings and giving that you want to be doing, and have money to eat. But you got to get the debt paid off in order to do that comfortably. Guess what she and I are going to be working on? Jill and I are definitely setting down, and we're going to get her in a career that brings her in more income than she's making right now. And we're going to allow her to enjoy her life again instead of being stressed out all the time. So you need to know your bare minimum. You need to know what your lifestyle add-ons are going to be. So let me teach you now a new way of doing things. You can kind of think of it like a ladder. You are going to put your income at the top of this ladder, and your income and your expenses will determine how long your ladder is. But at the very top of your ladder is going to be the essentials. Again, the food, the shelter, the utilities, the transportation. If you need, we're all adults, we probably don't need more clothing. Let's just be fair. So at the very top of your ladder is your income, and then underneath that is your essentials. Those are going to come absolutely first. After that, you're going to have your non-negotiables. 2, maybe 3 non-negotiables, not 8, 9, 10. Okay. Your Audible subscription is negotiable unless you are a book reviewer for a living, making a high enough income to justify that. But underneath that, so we have our income, our necessities, our non-negotiables, our debt payoff, if there is anything, because that's required. Underneath that is everything else that is based on what you enjoy as a family. When we are in the process of paying our bills and our income is variable, we go down the ladder. And when we run out of money, when our income has been spent, we draw a red line and we can't go any further down that ladder unless we bring in more income. Some people do their ladder incorrectly, and they will do things like pay their Chase card instead of eating. I'm not saying that that's me, except it's me. That was me. Back when I first graduated from college, I would pay all of my credit cards and then be very hungry. So I would at least go work more so I could pay. I worked at a restaurant, and working at a restaurant, my food was half price. So I would eat at the restaurant as cheaply as possible because I was broke and I needed that money. The best place for you to go, by the way, when you're broke is to work. Get off your butt, go to work, go make some more income. If you're not making enough to cover everything you want, you either need to want less or make more. That's just how it goes. Now, when we're talking about this ladder method, this is what I call a new system for you. You have been using an old, outdated system that works really well for people that get paid on the 1st and the 15th, get paid on the 1st, get paid on, bi-weekly. These systems work for them, but if you have a variable income, if you're an actor or you work in a restaurant or things don't line up beautifully so that you can get paid on the 1st and the 15th, that's when we need to implement this ladder-based system. I like to call this a priority-based budget. Okay. We're focusing on the things that are a priority. We're not focused on, well, this has to happen on this day. This has to happen on this day. If you know that at the end of the month you have a bill coming up and you have money at the beginning of the month to pay that bill, you need to set that money aside for that bill to get paid. You need to know that money is already spent. It just hasn't come out of the account yet. It is so incredibly important that we do things based on priority, making sure that things get done, as opposed to just flying by the seat of our pants and going, oh, whatever, because that's when we get ourselves in trouble. That's when we get into credit card debt. That's when we cause problems. So remember, calculating our bare minimum number first, and then the lifestyle. This can be very scary at the first time we do it, but it's really great to know if I make X, I'm okay. If I make this number, I'm okay. And if I make Y, which is a little bit more than X, then I get to do some extra things. Probably should have done that W and X, huh? Because extra things. Okay, so I want to talk about building peace into this process. Okay, something like getting funded a month ahead. And this can feel like a cushion, and it can feel like a full transformation to your stress level. By getting ahead, you are giving yourself breathing room. Being a full month ahead. Now, this takes some time and strategy and energy. And if that's what we're going to focus on, then what I want you to do is I want you to pay minimums on everything. I want you to pull back your lifestyle choices. I want you to pull back on literally everything that you can. I want you eating as low as possible so that we can get a month ahead as quickly as possible. And then once we are a month ahead, we will do things like the debt snowball system. We can do things like making big moves, but what we need first is some margin. If you are in a business where sometimes you have really big windfalls and sometimes you have smaller months, like if you're in real estate and you have this crazy $20,000, $60,000, $80,000 month, that's the time that you get ahead, one. It's also the time that you establish for yourself a hill and valley account. I cannot stress to you enough how much a hill and valley account will make you feel so much peace. And the reason is that is set aside. Why do we call it a hill and valley account? Because when we're on a hill, when we're up in the high months, that's a hill. That's when we take some money aside and we set it into an H&B account, hill and valley account. Then when we're in the valley, when we have a month where we don't quite cover enough to cover next month's bills, or we don't quite make enough to cover this month's bills if we're not doing the plan ahead method, then what we want to do is we want to take some money out of that hill and valley account because we're in a valley and we need to cover the difference. There's some of my friends have seasonal work. Some, if you own a Christmas tree farm, you know that November and December are going to be fabulous and we're going to have lower months the rest of the year. That would be this is my hill, and that money has to cover me through the rest of the valley. That's kind of what we're thinking about here. I hope that you have more hills than you have valleys. In most businesses, it kind of evens out. We know when our high months are and we know when our low months are. As a financial coach, January, great time for me. As a career coach, January, great time for me. Career coaching, pretty even throughout the year. For financial coaching, January, huge. August and September, again, huge because that's second new year for a lot of people. A lot of people want to change their jobs in January because they just got their Christmas bonus and now they're like, all right, I can cut bait and go. Sad, but true. So I know that with career coaching, December, not happening. But that's okay because I have created breathing room and margins. I have retained earnings in my business and I have a hill and valley account for money that comes home from the business as well. The whole point of this is to bring peace into our financing. I want to create breathing room. I want to create margin. Margin is a gift to you. And I want you to have peace about the fact that, yeah, I don't know how things are going to go. With a lot of businesses, like with real estate, you know when things are going to be closing out and when things are going to be moving on. With acting, you know, hey, I got paid, I got the job this month, I'm going to get paid next month. You know that's coming. We just need to be intentional and plan ahead and be thoughtful so that you can set yourself up on the system. Now, look, if this system sounds like, yes, that's exactly what I need, but I'm not sure how to make that happen, let's jump on a call. Reach out to me, accelerateyourlegacy.com/clarity call, accelerateyourlegacy.com/clarity call. Book your free 30-minute session where we can sit down and we can talk and we can make a plan for you and we can figure out which of these systems works best for you. I promise you, you don't want to miss out on the opportunity of peace and freedom just because you have a variable income, just because you are uncertain on how things are going to be next month. Let's make it so it doesn't really matter what next month is. I promise you, by having peace and creating some sort of flow, a flexible system that matches your income style, I promise you that that's going to make it so that you make more money. When you have peace, you can be more creative. If you have peace, you walk into situations differently. If you were in real estate, you don't have to sell this house today. I don't have to sell this house to you because I have margin in my budget and what I'm doing. And when you have that demeanor of, yeah, I can sell a house today, but if I don't, I'm still going to be okay. People can sense that. They can feel your calm. If you were uptight and freaked out and you're like, if I don't book this job, I'm not going to be able to eat this week, people aren't going to hire you. Nobody wants a cast member on their crew that's desperate all the time because that makes you anxious and antsy and it's frustrating. It's not the energy that you want to have. You want to be creative. You need peace. You need margin. You need freedom. I know this is the case because that's how my trajectory was. When I was uptight and worried about money, I would not book the job. When I was able to be free flowing and enjoy myself, that's when it happened. That's when things began clicking. I was firing on all cylinders. I was more joyful. I was more creative. I was more playful in the audition room. And people saw that and they wanted to interact with that. So I had a listener question recently, and somebody said, what's one thing that you can do this week? A listener asked me, what's one thing I can do this week to create more peace with my income pattern? They were an actor, and what I told them to do was create a value ladder, a ladder budget where it's income, necessities, non-negotiables, debt payoff, And then everything after that was if they made enough money, they could cover it. That's where this episode came from. It came from somebody saying, "Hey, what do I do?" And I just wanted to give you some insight. And I want you to know that there is peace on the horizon for you. You are able to make a change. You are able to make a difference in your financial life. But what you have to do is be open and willing to do something different. If the current system is not working for you, let's get rid of that and let's create something that works just for you, just for your values, just for your income system. You have what it takes. So if you're done guessing, you're ready to build a budget that reflects your life. I'm currently have 7 spots open in my Financial Independence Day sale where we can do a budget deep dive this month. My prices are going up soon. So I want you to grab a spot before that happens so we can save you a little extra money, okay? My friends, my accelerators, peace is on the horizon for you, and I can't wait to watch you go out and make a difference.